Hello and welcome to part 3 of the first episode of the Pioneers Conclave. My name is Dhruv Joshi, and in this podcast, you will see why Mr. Upamanyu Acharya narrowed down his options to MBA at IIM and what is that one common trait in every student at IIM Ahmedabad. Do check out our social media handles for more details. To get in touch with Mr. Upamanyu, do check out our YouTube channel, eCell and Skill Hub Jai Hind College. His social media handles are listed in the description box. Not taking more of your time, let's dive straight to the conversation.
So, moving to the next part of your career, and this is one question even I was personally very interested in knowing that when you were deciding on what to do after BMS from Jai Hind, what were the factors which played an important role in choosing that you would end up doing MBA at IIM? I mean, there were a lot of options currently for us also. There's a lot of options. Maybe you can pursue a professional course like CA, CFA, actuarial science. A lot of things, I mean, are coming up. So what are the key factors which you were thinking of when you decided you would want to take up IIM-A, and you applied for CAT and you started preparing? So what are the key factors by?
You're very right. There are a multitude of options available, especially for someone in BBA or BMS, because it's a very open-ended degree. You can pretty much get into anything from the business side. Uh, the options that were available, like first of all, I was not really interested in making a career in finance or hardcore accounting, actuarial science, anything. So for me, CA was never really something I was interested in. CA, CFA, these are great things to pursue. It wasn't for me. So it broke down to simply doing an MBA or let's say master's in marketing from a foreign university, maybe UK, US, Canada. These are the places that were in the consideration pool, or trying in India. Now, the simple fact is that India is far more competitive because there are far more people trying to get into far fewer seats. So it is very competitive, no doubt about that. And getting to the top level institutions, anything in the top 20, top 10, top 5 even, is extremely difficult, requires dedicated effort. uh, on the other hand, my personal belief, and I know I might be wrong because I haven't done as much research on the foreign side as I have done on the Indian side, is that it is easier to get into a good foreign university, uh, even for a master's in whatever field, or for an MBA. Abroad, an MBA will require a significant amount of work X. So usually right after graduating, you're looking at an MIM degree, which is a master's in management. A lot of great universities in Europe especially offer this degree, a master's in management. And they say that the equivalent of an MBA in an IIM is the master's in management course, not so much the MBA course. Because an MBA at Harvard, let's say, the average age is 28, 29, and the average age at IIM-A is 23, 24, right? So there's a difference in the product that these institutes are offering. So you have to keep that in mind. From an MIM perspective, I look at it fairly simply, which is in India, it's tough to get into, but the rewards that you can get are great because India is such a good economy when you consider the global situation that your career prospects as a top tier MBA grad might be better in India. But when you go abroad, of course, it's a great life. Your university will be amazing. And if you get the opportunity to stay there, you'll have a great life if you're going abroad. But that's when the risk comes in, right? We know the global geopolitical situation since 2016, and it's not been in the favor for immigrants. So colleges all across the world, UK, US, everyone, it's not easy to get a visa and stay back. And it's going to become even tougher after lockdown. And trust me, for the next year or two at least, I don't see any of this changing. It'll definitely swing the other way, not in favor of immigrating and working a job abroad unless you're at the very highest levels, right? So I look at it like going abroad is easier, but it's very high risk because the chance of you coming back to India is very high. And doing a top tier MBA course from India by giving CAT or XAT or anything, it is actually lower risk, but the effort required is far higher. So if you can get into the institute, the risk of not doing well in life is very low, because you will be set to do something, whatever it is that you enjoy. That's how I broke down my CAT thing, and I can get into the CAT preparation part if you guys are interested.
Absolutely. That was the very next question. As you said, that getting into IIM or any Indian institute requires a lot of dedication on an individual level. So the next question, without any doubt to you, was like, what was Upamanyu Acharya's day like when he was preparing for CAT?
Yeah. um, okay, just another bit of context. When I was doing my degree at my BMS degree undergrad, I never had CAT in mind, not even once. So that CAT was just not an option that was presented to me, because I always thought I would end up doing my startup. And when I graduated, I skipped my college placements because I was working on my startup for the first few months. Unfortunately, what ended up happening is it grew too big too fast, I think, and the revenue just wasn't coming in for my startup. So I did not find a greater degree of success in continuing my startup than I would have in another field. So that's when the idea of a postgraduate degree of any kind had come into my mind. By then, I was working at a job. I was working at one of the largest cryptocurrency brands in India as a marketing executive. So that's when really the idea of giving CAT came to me. So this was the year 2018. Sometime in July 2018 is when I had the idea of giving CAT and pursuing IIM Ahmedabad as a serious goal. And of course, CAT 2018 was the one that I gave. So those first few months when I was working, I had to travel for almost 2-3 hours a day, because it's Mumbai, right? That's what the city does to you, and local train plus metro, all of that. It's very taxing. I would come back home at around 10, 11 p.m. Almost every night after work, and then I had to prepare for CAT. So 3-4 hours of prep after that, and then prepping almost 7-8 hours during the weekend, doing mock tests. So that was what my schedule looked like for the uh, 4 or so months before giving CAT. CAT day itself for me was not really, I mean, honestly, I don't even remember it, because for me, it was just like giving another mock test. And that's what it should be ideally. If you've given enough mock tests, if you've tried the trials enough times, then the actual thing starts to feel like a trial itself. So CAT 2018 was nothing special. Almost all CATs are similar. And these days, the CAT paper pattern is fairly predictable. So it's rare that you'll be thrown for a loop.
So we'll come to the interview part of it in a bit, and I just wanted to ask you this one question. So since you're at IIM right now, what is this fundamental quality of students at IIM? Is there like a common trait?
Yeah, there are a few common traits, but more than the common traits, there are many uncommon traits, in that everyone there is different. And that is something you'll really see at IIM Ahmedabad specifically, because the batch is so incredibly diverse. Uh, for every BMS student, there's a doctor, there is uh, someone from NIFT, like a fashion designer, there's someone from humanities. So very, very diverse batch. And they all have very different traits, as you can imagine. Yeah, as far as common traits go, the one that I'd mentioned earlier was curiosity. Everyone is incredibly curious, and that shows because they are used to learning things very fast, right? And if you give them a fact, and this is something that I noticed, which was different from my undergrad college and my MBA institute. If you talk about something and you're trying to explain something and you give them a fact, they don't take the fact at face value. I mean, they don't just say, huh, okay, cool, you told me this. They'll ask why. And then if you don't have an answer to the why, they will try to find out the why themselves. So they'll work back. So for example, if I just tell them like India as an economy will beat the US within 50 years, like that's just my opinion that I can throw out, for example. So they'll ask me, why do you think that? Then I have to explain to them growth rate of GDP, all that, and then they will again calculate that in their mind, and they'll throw it back. But US GDP is growing at 2%. So India's GDP is growing at 6%. So when does that matching happen? Maybe in 2080. So your 50 years is not correct. These are sort of conversations you will expect to have. Common trait is true amongst all of them, which is they are incredibly curious, incredibly smart at identifying problems, and they're very motivated towards solving problems. That is something that every single student at IIM Ahmedabad has.
Yeah, so it again boils down to the conversation we had in the beginning. It's more focused on the whys rather than the what. So I think
Absolutely.
that's a very good trait the audience listening also should pick on.